Hey, welcome to Settled on the Field. Jeb and Liz, we are once again joined by a fantastic guest. How are you two doing?
Doing great, Bill. Thanks for coordinating getting Darrell here. This is super exciting.
Having a great day.
So, our guest today, let me introduce, is Master Darrell Sullins Sr., sixth degree black belt, co author of Elite Martial Artists in America, the Pan American Karate Gold Medalist, USA Karate Federation Hall of Fame. He's a speaker, an author, and he's the president and CEO of SoulNet Impact Consulting. Darrell, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I am excited and glad to be here.
Lead you off with the quote that I found checking out your website a little bit, and it's Coach Sullins believes that anyone can achieve their goals with the right mindset and training, and he's excited to help you succeed. So, can you elaborate on the mindset and training side of your SoulNet Impact Consulting?
Yeah, when I started off years ago, my self-image was lowered so low you could trip an ant, and I bought in what people were telling me that I wasn't good enough, fast enough, strong enough, smart enough, and I bought into that. And so as time went by, I started my training in Cleveland, and a gentleman by the name of Ken Ferguson, I went to the recreation center. He was there and they had a karate class. I jumped into it. And after the class, he looked at me and said, "You'll be good if you practice." I had never had anybody tell me that before. So I bought into that and I started listening to it. And then things started happening. And so when I started competing, my first three competitions, I lost and I was getting ready to quit. But my mother said, "Don't you quit." Said, "I'll give you the money for the entry fee. Don't you quit." And so I had a switch that flipped in me. So I made a change and I said, "Look, I'm going to stop being afraid. I'm not going to have fear have me. They're going to start being afraid of me." And so I started winning. And through the years, I've competed. I won so many championships and competed overseas and all that. But I thought back and said, had I quit, I would not have had those achievements. So one of my goals is to teach, train other people to overcome those self-imposed barriers. And that's what that basically means. And I saw it happening as a cycle. My son had adopted that too, and he was passive, ready to quit and things like that. And one rule in my house is you start something, you have to finish it. So all that ties into that. And so I work with individuals who have that mindset that they won't go to or surpass the comfort zone, and I build it on that. So I use the martial arts also to connect it to leadership.
So I see that you have 5 traits of exemplary leadership. Would you mind telling us about those? And what are the 5 traits of exemplary
Oh
leadership?
my goodness, all the things I did not have, especially if you understand a difference between manager and a leader. A manager got, plan, coordinate, and organize. A leader, an exemplary leader, what they do is motivate and inspire. And so all those things is what you understand your task and you understand the don't quit aspect of it. It's not just about the nuts and bolts because anybody can learn that. It's mastering yourself, your thinking, and then inspire others to do the same. Because I can teach anybody to do kick and punch and all that, but it's basically inspiring them and motivating. And so when those traits, those leadership traits is I like to call it a garden salad. In a salad, you have the tomatoes, you have the lettuce, you have the onions, you have maybe green peppers. They're mixed together, but they still separate. And so each one of those components in there, you might be high on one, low on the other, and then you use it to complement each other. And so when I figure that out, using my weaknesses um, and working on them, things start happening. And as a matter of fact, I'm a graduate of Indiana Wesleyan University. So,
Oh, is that right?
yes, yeah.
Another connection to Indiana.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, Darrell, I was reading a book, The Mental Game of Golf, and I saw a little line in there. It said, to don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself.
Mm.
So like you were explaining growing up, you wanted to quit, but being having a positive mindset. Is there something you give to your athletes to teach them to be, forward thinking and positive thinking and having a real strong mental mindset? I mean, in the realm of karate, I know that's a huge benefit.
It's funny you asked me that. I I retired from competition in the early 90s, and I actually came out of retirement to compete in a tournament in 1996. And I did it because I was teaching at the time, and my students they wanted to see me compete, but I had stopped competing. I said, if everybody passed their tests, I'll compete, and I did. And so um, it inspired them. And right now, I started teaching one person. And when the last Olympics that took place, I called a buddy of mine because the United States didn't fare very well. Karate was an ex, expedition in the last Olympics, and we had one person to win a bronze medal in kata. And so I called him up. I said, "Hey, what's going on with the United States? We used to dominate in that. What's going on?" He said, "One thing, you're now teaching." I was like, "Oh man, okay."
Puts you on the spot.
Yeah. And then the other guy said, here's what he said to me. He said, "What good is to die with all that knowledge?" And so I said, yeah, okay. So 2 years ago, I started doing workshops and seminars. That's all of us doing, traveling the country, preparing people or giving them the journey or the path to compete Olympic style competition. It wasn't until this year I got a phone call about someone who's a young man who was challenged. He was going off left, wrong path, low self image, and he got into a lot of crazy stuff. And so they asked me to teach him. So in January, I started teaching him, and he's made a turnaround. And this Saturday, he will be competing in his first competition. And
All
so
right.
today, it's prep week, and he's excited about it, and I see a change in him. And so the things that we talk about is not about winning a trophy, it's winning of the mind, because you have to say, look, I can do this thing. And he got kind of frustrated today because he threw techniques at me and I'm blocking him. And he was like, man, I said, look, that's against me. When you're in your division, you're going to be hitting these guys. So it's breaking that stuff down for them. And I'm a visual learner. And so I give a lot of analogies. Show a lot of pictures and paint it out for them. And they seem to grasp that way. So I think he's going to do well.
So,
I think he's
Darrell,
going to do well.
tell us, like, how you go about, you went from having this low self-esteem, you were taught to become stronger, you sort of self-taught yourself. How long did that take you to go from being, maybe a little bit insecure to being confident in yourself? How long did that take?
Well, it wasn't self-taught. I had a lot of people pour into me in different aspects inside the martial arts and outside of the martial arts. And I think the key was I hated to read. I mean, if it didn't have a picture in it, I wasn't picking it up. But I began to read, and I began to read a lot of different books. You can't get to second with your foot on first. What do you say? Talk to yourself. Think and Grow Rich. The Magic of Thinking Big is the first book that I read from cover to cover, and I started picking things out of that. And here's something that was significant about reading. Reading allowed me to go places I've never been, talk to people I've never been in face to face with, to understand their mindset, to pick up little nuggets from them. And I've become a avid an avid reader now. And once I start understanding that no person is better than me,
Mhm.
it changed me, you know, and I'm glad it did because I was able to be an example for my kids. And my son went through the same thing when he started sports. So uh, reading was tremendous
And
in
how old
the
were you
change
when you
in me.
started reading? I'm curious.
Oh,
Yes, when you became
when
an
I became
avid.
an avid reader, oh man, oh I was a
Well, I
adult.
say
I
that
mean,
because, I've got an
um,
18-year-old
I don't
son
know.
who I try
Yeah.
to, he used to read when he was younger. Now he's like, reading? Ooh, what? I have YouTube. Uh, so, I try to get him to read, but I'm like, when does that
Yeah,
click? Because that takes a little time, I think.
For
it
sure.
it did. It did. And one thing coming out of I was just telling somebody yesterday. There's a teacher in high school. Her name was Miss Gardner. If I know where
Mm.
that woman is today, I will hug her because I remember in high school, uh, in her English class, she was talking about college, and everybody's talking about they going to college. And I said, I want to go to college. She said, it is very beneficial for you to go to college. And I said, no, I'm not going. That woman pulled me out of class in the hallway and talked to me 15 minutes while the class was still in there about the benefits of going to college. And I was adamant. And the reason why I didn't want to go to college, because I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could make it. And so I went to Kent State for about a year. I ended up going to Kent State University for about a year. Then I went into the Marine Corps. While in the Marine Corps, I took classes and stuff here and there. But I was in my 50s when I went to
Oh,
Indiana Wesleyan
nice. Oh.
and started
Good for
there,
you.
you know. And here, I got Darrell Sullins Sr. This Darrell Sullins got an A in every
Yeah, I
single
bet you
class,
did.
you know.
There you go. That's that long
And
term dedication.
it's because I was now mature and my thinking has changed and I began to read a lot and understanding that. And that made a difference. So I'll tell anybody, yeah, definitely get into reading. I don't care if you start with 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, it doesn't matter. Just start and start reading to hear what the author is saying to you and start picking out things that apply to you that help you to apply it and become better.
I like that you said reading let you go places and talk to people that you would have never talked to. That's a really nice.
Yeah.
I've gone on this recruiting journey with my son for the past couple years. He really wants to play football in college, and we've been on many trips to many different schools, and I've learned a lot about it along the way. And what I want to ask you, and this is a tip, these are tips for our recruits listening, is there's no guarantees out there. So
Okay.
you go on these trips to the
Mm-mm.
schools, and they might be like really blowing you up, talking you up, saying all these great things, and you don't necessarily end up with an offer from that school. And so, or you may not end
Hmm.
up, going to the school you really wanted to. You may not end up with a full ride. Just things just don't always work out necessarily the way they want to. So, what are some methods that you have learned or that has karate has taught you that can help these recruits deal with some adversity that they may face?
Yep.
Okay. The principles that I use in coaching track and the sprints and the hurdles, 400-meter on down, I coach them. And the principles are from karate. And one thing that we say in No Negations, our podcast, strong beliefs triggers the mind to find a way to succeed. You is and you hear it all the time is like a cliche, you just got to think it. Well, you think it, you focus on it, you work on your weakness to get strong, you know. Watch people who succeeded at what you want to do and don't be like them, but grab nuggets that's going to help you. I was just with a former world champion and film star, Bill Wallace. He's been in martial arts movies, and we spoke. He didn't. He kind of, you go someplace and the guy look at you like you look familiar. Well, he had
Right.
that look. When I was 16 years old, I was at a tournament in Atlanta, and it's a karate uniform. It's called Century, and they came out with a new elastic in the karate pants, and he was trying them on. The tournament was over. It was a few of us young kids, standing around in the hallway. He comes out, and I started joking with him, and he threw a kick at me. Was blazing fast. He was the fastest kicker in the world at one time. Bill Wallace in that hallway gave me a 15-minute one-on-one seminar on kicking. Now, my style is an Okinawan style where they have lower kicks and all that. The Korean style kicks high in Taekwondo and that. Most people thought I was a Korean stylist because of the manner in which I kicked. That came from Bill Wallace. And what's the significance of this? I was open to listening to him and I applied. And so I say to any recruit, be open, listen to a coach, a teacher, or whoever that's telling you stuff. Do what they tell you before you go back. Because a lot of times they say, oh, yeah, you told me to do this. Did you do that? No. Well, do that first, then come back, And that is tremendous to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's kick it over to Jeb. He's got some rule of the day questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Darrell, you just dropped a little bit of knowledge about the different varieties of martial arts. And so we have the Olympics coming up. You're a Pan Am champion, gold medalist. So I was just going to tell our folks the two different types of karate and karate that's going to happen in the Olympics. So specifically karate. But I wanted to ask you, what are the variations that happen in the Olympics, like Taekwondo, Judo? How do those all intertwine in the martial arts?
Well, judo is in the Olympics. Taekwondo is in the Olympics. Karate was in as an I'll say onomatopoeia when I get tongue twisted. Was an exhibition that in the last Olympic. Right. It will not be in this Olympic. The Pan American Games is the Olympics for karate right now. The Pan American Games and the World Championships. There's Taekwondo, that's Korean style. They utilize mostly kicks. Judo is in there also. Those been in the Olympics for some time now. And as a matter of fact, I will be competing myself this summer in the Masters Pan American Games.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be held here in Cleveland. Yeah, they have all sports, but it's 35 and over, 35 up to 65. I'm 63 years old now, so I'll be competing in the men's 60 to 65.
You're going to kick everybody's.
Nice.
Yeah.
Darrell, what are the dates for that there in Cleveland? You got a little hometown advantage.
July 19th through the 21st.
All right.
Yeah.
And then, so what type of, what will that be, the kumite or?
Yeah. They have kata and kumite. And their kumite is sparring. Kata is like shadow boxing, but they're different variations of Japanese style, and there'll be judges on that. But in kumite, you're mixing it up. So I'm not out there with 20-year-olds. So, but
So
they're lucky.
System for landing blows.
What's that?
Kumites where you're sparring, so you get a point for landing a blow. How does the point system work?
Yeah, in the traditional type karate, they speak all Japanese, and so it has to be a good, crisp technique, and they give you a half a point, which is a wazari. It's called wazari.
Okay.
If you got a good technique, kick to the head, you sweep the guy, and he's on his way down. You strike him. That can be an ippon. That's a full point. And most matches are like 3 minutes, and it may not seem that long, but it is mixing it up. It could be. So yeah. So like I said, they speak all Japanese in there. You have to understand. I used to speak Japanese pretty well when I was in Okinawa, Japan for about a year, but that was in the 80s. And so if you don't use it, you lose it, you
Right.
know? And so,
And then
uh,
then kate is more showing off your form.
yes, you get a list. There's a list of katas that you do. In AAU, the World Karate Federation, and the World Union Karate Federation, they're all similar, but you have a list of katas that you do. And so me being an Okinawan stylist, my style is called Ishinryu, that utilize short punches, short kicks and things like that. So if I'm competing in that tournament and my style is listed at Ishinryu, I cannot do another Japanese style like Gojuru, Shotokan. I cannot do that kata. They'll let you do it, but when you finish, you're disqualified. So they're very strict on the katas that you use. And now they changed the system where when you do your kata, you either wear a red belt or blue belt. And so the judges will have a red flag or a blue flag. And whoever ones they feel did the superior kata would put that flag up, the color of the flag, and that person won that round or won the tournament.
Okay.
So they changed the stuff. So, and Uhuru is blue and Aka is red. And so, like I said, it's all Japanese. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So one of the things we started is a nonprofit, Vets to Refs. So
Hmm.
basically, veterans and first responders, we're going to try and help them to become sports officials, high school, youth. So when you go to these tournaments, I assume, I mean, I've never met a martial art official, so I would assume those are in high demand. Is there a process for someone to become an official in the martial art world?
Yeah, by the guy's name is Tony Harmon. He's the head referee instructor. And you have to go through training to do that because one, you have to learn the Japanese terminology and you have to be dressed a certain way. Blue jacket, white shirt, red tie, gray pants. It's everybody the same. And so based on your seniority or experience determines the color of your shirt also. And so if a newbie and they're a novice judge, they may have an off-white shirt, or a gray shirt, you know. But yeah, he does. You have to go through a school to training for that. There's also timers. You have timers. Know how to do the timing in that. Know when to stop the time. And so in doing so, they would tell you and know the different violations. You do something wrong, they give you a warning. They say Hansokochui. That ain't good, you know, and then if you have excessive contact, um, so it's going to school, and I always tell whether I'm teaching karate or instructing people in track or teaching at my church, I always tell people you never graduate from learning. You can always learn something from somebody, and even you don't even have to like the person to learn from them. Somebody can always you can learn from them.
We just had on Andy Reese. He's a mental performance coach for the Bears, and he said, "Learn to earn."
Yeah, there you go. And I
Yes,
think that's great what you guys are doing with first responders and vets and things like that. That is tremendous. That is tremendous to get them active, get doing things like that.
yeah. So if you know any first responders and veterans that want to learn how to be an official, we'd help send them our way.
Okay, now are you guys primarily focused in Indiana?
We're not. We're gonna try and go as far as we can. Right now, we're working on Indiana, Michigan, and then next will
Yep.
be Ohio.
Okay, okay, great,
Yeah.
great. And is that sport specific? Any specific sport
Send us
or
the
Any
people who want
sport.
to be karate
Any sport.
officials. Do they call them a judge, you said? Or they call them an official? Or they call them a referee? Okay.
referees? Referee or judges. Yeah. When they're doing kata, they're judges. You know, it could be three judges, it could be five judges, or if they're sitting at the corners, it's four judges. But yeah, I would definitely talk to Anthony Harmon about that because he does the training for the judges and the referees.
That'd be awesome. So
Yeah.
hey, let's send it over to Bill. He does a little walk-on warrior segment for us.
Okay.
All right, Darrell. Hey, so for those of you listening, you're wondering how do we get Darrell Sr. on the show here, a gold medalist, karate champion. Well, we met online. I think it was during COVID times at the what they call a VBOC, Veteran Business Outreach Center. It's like I think it's called the Boots to Business course that was led by Reginald Thompson. He's out of Georgia, and we just joined online at the time. We've been, not daily, but we're in contact ever since, and I'm happy that you're joining us here. So my segment is Walk On Warriors because back in the day, I walked on to Ball State, and so you said Kent State. I didn't even want to say anything when you said Kent State. I couldn't even do it. But since you're a Marine, I'll let it slide. So can you tell us a little bit how you might utilize some of your amazing experiences and like how does those experiences translate into your consulting business?
A lot of times when people talk or instruct or coach, they talk about all the good things that you've done. I talk about my failures, my mistakes, because that allow people to know that you're real. I don't want to be so high-minded that nobody can relate to me. Say, look, I messed up. I quit. I failed. I stumbled. But here's what happens. Say, I know how you feel, but here's what I found out. You can recover. And so if you just talk to people, just have a conversation, build a relationship with them, they'll connect with you. And I don't scream. I remember one of the girls that I was coaching. She her senior year, I became the head coach at a high school, and she would go to the state championships. But at the first day, she was eating a hot dog. She didn't make it to the finals or the podium. And I coached her, and she became second in the state in the 200 meters and fifth in the 100 meter. And she said, "I have never had a coach like you. You didn't yell, you didn't cuss or nothing." But I had to relate to her, meet her where she is, and then she was able to buy into what I was coaching. And so it's becoming not just a coach, but a person to build a relationship. That makes a huge difference. At least it did for me.
Yeah, relationship building is the key, and them being able to hear your message is just as important or more important than yelling it loudly, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like this is a quasi story. I was in Japan for a couple of years with the Navy, and they taught us some culture things. It's like if you're speaking English to someone who speaks Japanese, it doesn't matter how loud you're yelling at them; they don't know what you're saying.
They don't know what you're saying.
It's the same thing like on the field. You can't just yell at someone and they're not hearing what you're saying,
and the
right? So
headphones don't work. We could yell at you all day, but you don't know what we're saying.
That's good.
All right. Hey, so I see a lot of similarities between veterans and former athletes, right? Whether you're a former athlete, you played football, and one day that comes to an end, or not all of us can compete when we're over 60 still. So someday you got to put the cleats up, or someday you're not flying planes anymore. You're not doing high speed activities for the military. So what would be your advice maybe as to tell these people like your old self, like, Bill Cooper back in the 90s or Darrell Sullins, your story doesn't necessarily define who you are as a total person. How can you get to like the present day person is just as valuable as, gold medal 1981.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be that Darrell Sullins again because I can't. Stretching now hurts. And I was like, man, I don't remember it hurting this much when I was 15, 16 years old, But you have to know your limitations. Um, and no, I see, I'm doing this for fun and also to inspire some of the people that I've trained in these workshops, and because they just don't get it. I came up in a different era, you know. I didn't have all the distraction, the technology, the stuff they have now to distract me. And so, let them know, look, if I can do this at my age, you can do it at your age, you know. So it's important to understand that no, I am not trying to be young Darrell Sullins again. No, but like I tell people, I rather wear out than rust out. So I'm not just going to
Yeah.
sit around.
That's a
That's
good
So
true.
point.
and funny how I got started, in them, and what's this 24 and 2021. I had a scene in a movie. It's called Rumble TV. It's an action comedy movie,
Oh, I
and
gotta check that out.
yeah, it's a cheesy movie, low budget, but it's fun. It was fun. It's an action comedy. It's
You're in a
on
movie.
it's on Tubi,
Okay.
Tubi. It's called Rumble TV, and the premise of it is a guy who nobody liked. He messed up the football team, and all these people after him. He'll get $30 million if he beat all the competitors that come at him. The thing is, he can be in the store, he can be at the movies, and people present this card to him, and he has to get down with them. And so I had a scene in the movie, but to prepare for my scene, I actually choreographed my fight scene. I had to train, and that's what got me into competition state, training for a movie. And so that just propelled me to doing what I'm doing today. And so from that, training for that, getting it in shape, moving around, it started. And I really quickly realized, no, I am not that same Darrell Sullins.
All right. Well, you took advantage of another situation where you're able to learn, get back, and develop some more. And we mentioned three different phrases for learn to earn or never stop learning. And then I'm gonna hit you back. Well, you said a card to hand out. We got the military's got all these challenge coins, right? And I just happen to have this one here.
Ah,
Happen to have this one here, and on it we put lifelong education,
there you
dedication,
go.
and domination. You gotta keep learning, right? Um, so, what can you tell us a little bit more about your No Negations podcast with your son D?
Yeah, No Negation is a Christian family podcast. We got started um, during COVID, we used to go out and do events and talk to people. We connect real life situations to the Bible, to the Word of God. And my son started No Negations because, like I said, he was having some struggles. Didn't think he belonged on the football field. He kind of struggled in the class a bit. He majored in exercise science, and so in doing that, he did an internship at a place and he had a client. This client wanted to lose 100 pounds, but she came in crying. Her husband didn't think she can do it. Her family didn't support her. And coupled with what he was going through, he wanted something that not only motivated his clients, but motivate himself. So he was sitting in a math class and they were talking about this little squiggly line. It's a negation sign and it means negative. And so he was looking at that. He's like, negative. He said, if I put a no in front of it, is no negative, no fear. It's called a negation sign. So that's where no negation comes from. And so what he did, he took an X-Acto knife, he cut out the N and the O and the symbol, and he ironed it on a t-shirt. And he went around campus and said, what's that? And he explained it to him. They bought the shirt. So he came back, he did it again. He kept doing that. And he called me, he said, Dad, I got a t-shirt business. And I said, a t-shirt business? I said, what is that? He said, negation, no negation. What's that? And he told me, I looked it up. And after I really understood what he was doing, I said, his name is Darrell. We call him D. I said, D, you don't have a t-shirt business. You have a motivational business. You're
Nice.
motivating people to overcome the self-imposed limitations. And then we coupled in God into that and what God has for you and what he created you for. And so when COVID hit, we started doing the podcast because we couldn't go out to different places.
Sure.
And it blew up. We never thought that we would have listeners in Japan, Malaysia, Germany, Dominican Republic, and we ranked in the top 5 in many of these countries, and number 1 in comedy, believe it or not, among our listeners. Because it's my son and I, and we don't always agree. He's coming from a different era than me, and it's basically, he always said, Dad, I forget we on a podcast. We just having conversation.
Yeah.
People listen to it and pass it out and stuff, and share it. So yeah. Make sure he talks about that when you guys have him on.
Sounds like a fun time with his old buddies out there on a cruise ship.
Yeah. I told him to remember your name now. Don't have too much.
Your name is my name. Remember that.
That's right.
Hey, my son is the 4th, so we're keeping it going.
Oh, is that right? Okay. That's great.
We've got one question that we like to ask all our guests. Jeb, I'm gonna kick it over to you. Let you take that one.
All right, Darrell. So we ask every guest if there's a sporting event that you've been to, or a sporting event that you would want to go to, that you would, rank as like a dream trip, or you've already been to that dream trip. So your greatest sporting event you could ever go to. What do you got?
I would love to go to an Olympic track
That would be
meet.
great.
I would love to see the 4x1 or the 400 meters or the hurdles. I would love to go to an Olympic
Very, very
track
cool.
meet. It's in Paris this year.
When
Yeah.
it's in America,
yeah.
the next summer Olympics. I can't remember.
I don't.
I was going to throw another quick story in real quick, is because he said he had a t-shirt business, and you're talking about the Olympics, and you're talking about the track meet. Back in 2008, I was in Iraq. I come home, and all of a sudden we put this t-shirt together. I don't know which one of these two did it, but it was a Usain Bolt t-shirt.
It had a bolt.
Is
all
that right?
white, and it had the lightning bolt right here with the Jamaica flag inside the lightning bolt.
Okay.
Well, someone's got a
still
box
have
of them
many.
somewhere.
I still have a bunch of like 2XLs because they're like,
I'll take them.
You didn't move.
Not the
You didn't move them, huh?
2028 is in LA, so I think you should
But,
mark
hey,
your calendars. I think that sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna have to do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do that. I would love to do that.
I would have to agree that my older son, my senior, is a track athlete. He does the 4x1, the 100, the 200, and the long jump. And I gotta say, the 4x1 and the 4x4 are just definitely the two best races of the meet.
Yeah. You know what I say about track athletes, and I always tell them this because everybody wants to run on a relay. It looks cool and all that. Coaches don't recruit off relays. They want to know what you do in your open event. Unless you the first leg, because if you're on a 4x1, that is the truest time. The other ones you get in a running start. So they want to know your open time. So that's why I tell athletes, look, if you're on a 4x1, run the 100, make sure you develop in that. Run the 200, or the 400. In my coaching days at track, our team was built around the 400 meters. So all our sprinters had to run the 400. It didn't have to be their race, but they had to train on it. And that made all the other races better. And so when individual coaches they really looking at your open time, not the relay time.
But that is the best race to watch, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
But it's also like the handoff, it's kind of scary. Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness. I had them drill. Some practice, half of the practice was on batons. The way I did, we did no command. It was no go, hike. It was silent commands. At a certain point, they crossed that line, their hand went back, that baton was there.
Lose you the race right there.
Yeah.
All right, well, Everybody,
Oh yeah, I got
get
my
out your
paper calendar.
calendars. Mark down, July 19th. Master Pan Am Games, Mr.
Oh,
Darrell Sullins
we're gonna be cheering
Sr.
for
Yes,
you.
yes, sir.
He's going to go out there and perform. We cannot wait to see how you do, buddy. We appreciate all your time and insight. I mean, you'd rather wear out than rust out.
That's right.
Whew, way to finish up, Jeb. Hey, that's awesome.
Hey, don't talk
Keep
about me
dominating,
about
Darrell.
it. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here,
Yeah,
buddy.
that's right. All right. Thanks, guys.